perform, get informed, go perform.
The first question is to the two of you. How is it difficult for a proprietor to head a school?
It's challenging but rewarding. Challenging in the sense you have to wear so many hats and you could be misrepresented based on the hat you're wearing. Rewarding when you see the lives you touch, especially as the children progress from year to year, and when they come out as graduates, you feel very proud and you feel that you have impacted into the lives of children. So
it is difficult, yes, because more often than not, you think about your students more than you think about even your kids. And if you don't balance it well, because I know I'm told at home that I can't bring school home anymore. Funnily enough, my house is in the school. Sad story. You are only able to get past the challenging parts if you go through the objectives. You know, you have the objectives, the goals, and then you get to the purpose. If you understand the purpose, the difficulties kind of diminish. So that's like the coping mechanism.
I hope you are all learning something. Well, since we're talking about school leadership, I would like you to talk to us about how or what practices you use in leading your schools. What are some of the good practices you're using?
So staff welfare is very key to us. Without our staff, you pretty much would not have your school running. So we place a lot of emphasis on training of our staff. We have a family culture, so whatever functions or whatever programs our staff have, we make sure we show up and show up in our numbers to support. Health, if someone is going through health challenges, we all rally around them. Down to eating, we ensure that even our staff don't have to leave the school premises to go look for food. We take care of their meals during school time. So those are the few things I would like to share.
In addition to that, I also add growth and development. I think the private school industry is suffering because more often than not, most of the people there are just there. And I think COVID was the best example. When you had the government paying salaries of public sector workers and private schools crying. And I think the worst, I do remember the honorable minister said something. It kind of annoyed me, but it spurred me on. I think he said any serious school should have 3 months of salary saved. And he said this during COVID. That was kind of like, it was cold. But it was the truth. And I think what private schools, what we are trying to do in the school is to try to give them something. And I think when they have the growth and the development, eventually it unlocks their purpose. Because I think most teachers are teaching without purpose. And I think that's what results in this whole negative 3 I's.
Now, as school owners, how do you deal with your difficult staff?
One thing we do is to know the strengths and weaknesses of our teachers. So as you come in, we observe you and we try and figure out what your strengths and your weaknesses are. And when it comes to difficult staff, we don't attack the personality. The attitude is what we look at and try to find ways around working with that person. So if the person complains about a particular area a lot, one of the things you could do is give that individual the opportunity to lead, to see what change that person would do. Find out who the person is close to and try and see if that friend can influence the person in another way, especially positive, by changing the mindset. And sometimes it's about exposure. One thing I've come to realize is if you don't expose people to various environments, they have a fixed mindset because all they know is what they have been used to. But once you give them exposure, you find out that they start changing the way they look at things. You give them challenges or you give them the opportunity to lead. You find out that they start sitting back and they're like, oh, okay, so this is what you go through. So it changes the way they think. So I think those are the ways that we have been managing our difficult stuff.
I would like to say I don't. You know how most proprietors, we get just like teachers, we try to avoid the most difficult children. And the reality is that leadership in our country means the highest. What we try to, and I'm a U.S. Army veteran, so I'm mistaken for I ran a soldier school. However, I actually understand the pitfalls of power. So what I do is, I stand in front of the gate and at times people pass me by and ask, I'm looking for the principal. I say, wait, I'll get him for you. So what we try to do is, I think one thing I try to do is always bring humility into the equation. Because if you do not come down, as Amma said, at times there's lack of exposure. If they had had a different foundation, they probably wouldn't have been that difficult. But because they didn't have it, and once they have a set mindset, so once you humble yourself as a leader and bring them to the level, you go down to their level. I think at times you find out that it's not intentional. At times it's just because of some misinformed conceptions or any of that sort. So it's a tough one though, however, we try to deal with it.
Well said.